Hello viewers, today I'm going to show you how to clean your carburetors on your motorcycle. So if your bike has been sitting for a while, or you just bought a bike that's been sitting and it doesn't start up or doesn't run right, all you have to do is clean your carburetors. I'm going to do this on this Kawasaki Ninja 250, but the procedure is pretty much the same on all bikes. So I'm going to go ahead and start removing the gas tank, the seat, the side fairings, and get to the carburetors that is right under here, right here. And we're going to clean this up and get this bike running. So without further ado, I'm going to start getting ready to take out the carburetors. Alright, so here we have the carburetor off the motorcycle, and basically the hardest part of doing this job is getting these off the motorcycle. So we've got the carburetor off. What you're looking at over here, this is how the carburetor goes on the bike. This is the part that goes onto the engine, and this is where the airbox goes, and these are your butterflies inside. That's what controls your throttle. So as you can see, this is kind of sticky right now, so I'm going to clean it up and show you how to do it. And we're going to open these up as well and clean up all the little crevices and little tiny pilot jets in the main jet and get this bike running. This is your choke basically right here. The choke seems to be working alright, but the throttle is sticking, so that's not good. So what I like to do is I always like to work on one side of the carb at a time. This is a 2-cylinder motorcycle, so there's 1 and 2. So I'm going to open one side of the carb at a time and work on it so that I don't mix up the jets. And so let's get started. Open up this carb. So this is the bottom end of the carb. As you can see, it's a little dirty. Actually, it's not too bad. So let me show you what's the inside parts of the carb. This is the float that basically controls the flow of gas into the carb, and it moves up and down. And there's a little stopper under here that basically stops the gas from overflowing, and it opens and closes according to the gas that is required. This is your main jet. I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and there is a pilot jet in here. So if your bike is running but won't idle without choke, or dies out when you turn off your choke, this is the pilot jet that's going to be clogged most 9 out of 10 times. And if your bike runs rough at higher RPM, your main jet is very likely the culprit. So let's go ahead and open these up and we'll see how they look like inside. And you have to be careful when you're opening these up because these are made of brass and they strip real easy. So you have to be careful when you're doing this, especially in a bike that's been sitting. So they usually have been like really stuck in there. So you got to be careful when you're opening these. So if you can see, I don't know how good this is going to come on the camera, these little tiny holes, you have to make sure that these holes, you can see through these holes, and that's when your bike doesn't run right, is because these holes get clogged because of old gas. So I'm going to go ahead and spray some carburetor cleaner on these and then blow them out, because you can easily strip that and get into a lot of issues. So once that's unlocked, what I will do is go ahead and take my screwdriver out and start unscrewing. Let's go ahead and turn it, give it a little tap, and there's your main jet. So same thing, it's got little tiny holes right here, and these are what get clogged with old gas. There you go. So this is what these tiny holes get clogged, and there's a little hole in the middle of this pilot jet as well. So you need to spray some carburetor cleaner and clean these out. So what I usually do is I'll take these out and I will put them in this little case that came off the carburetor. Put these in here. And take my carburetor cleaner. This is just a simple carburetor cleaner that I got at Walmart. Spray it in here and try to basically immerse all those holes in the carburetor cleaner and let it soak in there for a little bit. And carburetor cleaner, you got to be careful when you're working with carburetor cleaner because it is really abrasive and it will soak up any paint. It will damage the paint on your motorcycle or your car. So you have to be careful when you're working with carburetor cleaner. So as you can see, both those jets are immersed in the fluid, and I'm going to just leave it like that. The other thing what I also do is, yeah, you can spray your carburetor cleaner into these passages for the main jet, pilot jet, this little hole. Basically any kind of holes that you see in the carburetor, just spray it with some carb cleaner and let it soak. And what that's going to do is it's going to free up everything. See, the throttle is already free after I just did those small little things. Another thing in carburetors is your airflow mixture, and that is under here. Usually these come blocked off like you see right here from the factory because they don't want you to adjust these, but these also get clogged. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill out these aluminum plugs, and then inside there we will see a little screw that adjusts your airflow mixture. So I'm going to go ahead and drill these out. Okay, so now that I have those screws out, those plugs out, I'm going to go ahead and open up these airflow screws. A lot of times it is you can go ahead and turn these clockwise and measure the turns that it was set at. Usually I don't do that because I always set my bikes at 2.5 turns out from close. So what I do is I'll just go ahead and take the screw out and screw it. There's usually a rubber washer, a small tiny washer in there, and a metal washer, so you have to be careful when you're taking this out. Okay, so there is your airflow mixture needle. So you can go ahead and put that in your little soak canister as well, so it soaks and cleans itself. And yeah, the washers are still in there, they didn't come out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave them in there. I'm going to spray a little bit of carb cleaner in there, and what you're going to do is put your finger on there whenever you're spraying any other part if the washer stayed in there, because you don't want the washer flying out. So there is some debris in the little case right here, so I'm going to take that out. I mean, it's always a good idea to make these drills before you open the cover so that nothing gets into that, but we're kind of too late for that. Live and learn, right? So I'm going to spray a little more in there. So what I have here is some wire that I'm going to use and clear out these little passages that are in this main jet, just like so. So this looks fairly clean. I'm going to give it a little blow, and what you do is you hold it against the light and you'll be able to see the light right through it. I'm going to try to see if I can show you that. If you hold these jets against the light, see if you, yeah, see right there, you can see the light through the jets, through those tiny little holes, and that's how you need it to be. You want to be able to see through them and same thing, you want to be able to see through right there as well. So that's good. So this looks good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back in this little soaker. The pilot jet also has tiny little holes right here. These are fairly big, so they are not the ones that usually get clogged. What gets clogged is the little tiny hole that is really small and right in the middle. So I'm going to see what's going on in here. Yeah, what I do is I'll just insert a little bit of wire in there and poke it through. And yeah, that looks pretty good. A lot of people advise not to do this. However, I have done this kind of cleaning on a lot of bikes, and I have never really had a problem. You're going to look through the little, hold it against the light and look through the little hole, tiny hole, and as you can see the light through it, and that's pretty good. Time to start putting this back together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the pilot jet in there, use my little screwdriver, screw it back in place. Next goes my main jet. And this is a really quick way to clean your carburetors, and unless your carb look really nasty, they've got a lot of varnish in there, you don't really have to take your floats apart and mess with anything unless they're leaking gas from your overflow. You don't really have to take those off. You can just do this cleaning with your jets and you will be good to go. So we're going to put this idle adjustment screw back in there, and I'll show you what I mean by setting the screw. We're going to screw this all the way to close. You have to be careful not to over tighten it because you can spoil the needle, so you got to go gentle on it. Okay, that's close. So from the point that it closes, I'm going to turn this out 2.5 turns. So that's half, that's 1, that's 1.5, that's 2, and 2.5. And that's what seems to work on most stock bikes, on pretty much all the bikes that I've owned that are stock. That's the setting that I use. I'm going to do the same thing on this this side right here. Okay, so we are done with this side of the carb. So now we're going to open up the other side and see what's going on in here. Usually there isn't a lot of things that need to be looked at on this side. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. Okay, there's usually a little spring. This is what holds the needle down. You want to be a little careful that the spring doesn't fly off. This is your diaphragm, and you have to be careful with this as well, so that you don't tear it. This is what creates a vacuum in the carb. So that looks alright. I'm going to spray a little bit of carb cleaner on here because it looks kind of messed up. Okay, and there's looks like there's quite a bit of varnish inside. So I'm going to go ahead and spray some carb cleaner. So yeah, you can see better that there's a lot of varnish in there, and that's not good. That's going to make everything run sticky. This is your choke hole right there. Spray a little more, clean that all up. And spray some on this side. Make sure everything's nice and clean. Actually, this carb is a lot dirty on this side than on the other side, and that's a little unusual. But no two carbs are the same. So let's go ahead and now start putting this back together. Okay, so basically this side of the carb is done. Now we're going to work on this side. And I'm going to go ahead and get that started. So there you go. The carburetor has been cleaned. Now all that's left is to put this back into the motorcycle and see how it runs. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so the carb is back in the bike. I've got the battery charged up, got some fresh gas in the bike. So let's go ahead and start it up and see how it works. So the bike started right up. It sounds really good. I think this bike hasn't been started for at least a year. So the carburetors were done right and the bike started up. So there you go. That's how you clean the carburetors on your bike. Basically I'm going to let the bike warm up, and once it's warmed up I'm going to adjust the idle speed and we're good to go. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and check out my other videos. Bye bye.